of the seminal books in Sri Aurobindo's literature is The Mother. To appreciate the theme of the book and the place it has in the practice of Sri Aurobindo's teachings, it is necessary to have an idea of the background of this book. And since all of us are fairly familiar with Sri Aurobindo's and the mother's personalities, I think a few general points of information would be apposite. When mother was a small girl in France, say about the age of 10, 11, she used to be visited in sleep by a number of spiritual teachers, luminous beings, some of whom she was to meet later on earth. They would come and teach her how to build her inner life. She wouldn't speak of it to anybody else at home because none was interested. Among these teachers, there was one whom she felt was an Oriental. He had a darker complexion, and she was led to call him Krishna, though she knew very little at that time of India or Indian names. And he was coming so frequently that she drew a sketch of his face. She was a good artist, just as she was a good musician. She drew a pencil sketch and she kept it by her side. So she grew up, she went to Algiers, she studied occultism under Theo, but all that is not very relevant to our purpose today. Somewhere in 1910, her husband, Paul Richard, he came to French India to canvass for votes for election to the French Senate for a friend of his. And when he came to India, he was a brilliant man. He was interested in many things of art, culture, spirituality. He inquired of the town people whether there were any wise men for which India is famed still left. And those people said yes, because a few months earlier, Sri Aurobindo had arrived there as a political exile from the British authorities. And he had a reputation as a revolutionary, as a thinker, and as one who had got the vision of the universal Godhead in jail and that sort of thing. So they took him to Sri Aurobindo, Mr. Richard, and they had a long-ranging talk, at the end of which he told him, my wife is seeing a particular symbol, the Star of David, always in her visions. There is a lotus there. What's the meaning of the lotus? So Sri Aurobindo explained to him that the lotus symbolizes consciousness, human consciousness, blossoming at the touch of the rays of the sun of truth. So when he went back to Paris and reported this to his wife, she got interested. And next time he came in 1914, She accompanied him. He came on the same mission. And as they were coming to Pondicherry, when they were 10 miles away, the train was 10 miles away, she saw a huge column of white light from the center of the town going up towards the sky. She was convinced that there must be somebody here. There must be Sri Aurobindo, who lives in this town, must be that person with whom I had to work. And that day, at 3 o'clock or 3:30 in the afternoon, she called on Sri Aurobindo because an appointment had been fixed. And when she saw him at the head of the staircase, she found him exactly as she used to see whom she called Krishna in dreams. The same face which she had sketched. And she met him. She sat by his chair. She sat below. She didn't sit on the chair that was offered. She was full of plans, full of ideas, full of schemes for changing the world, having a new society and all that in her own way. But when she sat there, she says, everything was wiped out as from a slate. And her mind became completely empty. A thing for which she had tried and tried, which she had never succeeded. And she forgot everything. Mind became a blank slate. Then she and her husband talked to Sri Aurobindo that day, the next day, and so on, found an identity of views, identity of goals, and they persuaded Sri Aurobindo to start a journal, philosophical journal, both in English and French, presenting to human mind a philosophy for the new age, the new consciousness, philosophy of perfection of life, the doctrine of life divine. And they started. But the war broke out that very month, in August, when the journal was started. And there was conscription in France, so he had to go back, and so they left for France. And Sri Aurobindo had to continue writing the Arya, the journal, alone, 64 pages every month. In France, the gentleman managed to get himself transferred to Japan as part of the French embassy. And mother went there and stayed there in Japan for 4 years. And she was greatly impressed by the Japanese sense of beauty, their aesthetics. And she called them the Japanese race as representing the aesthetic soul of the world. She came back in 1920, after the World War was over, and she joined Sri Aurobindo in 1920. She kept herself always in the background. Around Sri Aurobindo there were people who were his associates in revolutionary days. There were those, a few of them, who were attracted by his philosophy and who wanted to practice his yoga. But there was no community. All were staying in different parts of the town, but were meeting him at fixed times. It was a loose kind of group. And they were not very well off. They used to always depend upon other people's gifts and donations. And when mother came and joined, she organized it in some sort of an order. And whenever Sri Aurobindo recognized her spiritual attainments, he says in his autobiographical notes that the only person from whom he really received spiritual help was the mother. And but for the mother, there would have been no ashram, and his philosophy would have remained a metaphysic. She demonstrated the viability of his philosophy. Now, he was exploring his own consciousness, precipitating spiritual evolution for sake of humanity and all that. That's another subject. In 1926, when things were going on like this, he had a very capital realization of a special kind of spiritual consciousness, which what is called an over-mental consciousness, establishing in him a knowledge that covered the entire universe in one's view, justifying every truth, every ideology, every idea, and showing its coherence in the unity of the truth. That is called the overmind, the highest state of mind open to man so far. And he wanted to go further, undisturbed by distractions. So he chose to retire in the end of 1926, say the 24th of November, when he had his realization. He said that thereafter he would retire. He wouldn't have direct dealings with anybody. But he pointed to mother. She was at that time, was not known as mother, but was Mira. Mira was her French name. And that Mira would be their guru, their guide. She would be the channel between him and them. And she was the mother. And he retired. Everyone was taken by surprise, some by shock, because those who had associated themselves with Sri Aurobindo, that they could not have dealings with him. And they were all revolutionaries who had worked against the British. And the British were identified with the white race. And all white peoples are looked upon in the East as colonial people, exploiters of the colored races. So there was a resentment. And some of them said, "How high? Why should we accept this foreign woman as our mother? We didn't come here for her. We came for sure." So there was rumblings, there were grumblings, and one of them ultimately wrote a letter to him. Why? Why should we accept her as the mother? In reply to that, he knew all this was going on, and he wrote an answer overnight, sitting overnight. And that answer has become a kind of a classic in English literature. And that is the four powers of the mother. That was his answer, stating why he looked upon this person as the mother, and also why he wanted his disciples and teachers and devotees and followers as the mother. He says, that is called the four powers of the mother. He wrote in longhand in foolscap pages, which are still preserved, and they were circulated afterwards. The substance of what he says is that in this universe there is a great power at work. That power is called Shakti. And that Shakti brings out and manifests all this universe out of the being of the Supreme. She is the channel, she is the intermediary between the Lord, the Supreme, and this world. It is through her that things have been manifested. And she has got three ways of existence. One completely transcendent, above the cosmos, intervening between the Supreme Transcendent and this universe. Second way of being is the universal power, universal Shakti, as the cosmic power. Third, as an individual embodiment, a person embodying the cosmic or the transcendent Shakti in herself. This he gave as a preliminary. And he said that this power of God, which is brought out this manifestation, which is conducting this manifestation, which is leading it towards a goal of the manifestation of the glory of the divine, it streams into four main channels. The first is the power, the puissance, the Shakti that reveals knowledge, all the vastnesses, all the splendors, luminosities of knowledge. She organizes knowledge, she develops all the quanta of knowledge, establishes it in the minds of men, promotes the growth of knowledge everywhere, and constantly is busy enlarging the vision and the experience of the inhabitants of this earth. And she it is who is always impersonal, never personal, because it is a sign of knowledge. The more you know, the more knowledge is developed in you, the more impersonal you are. Your attention shifts to principles of things and not to personalities, not to individual things, but to things that make the individuals possible. So she has an impersonal stance, an impersonal consciousness, to whom the good and the evil, the right and the false, they all have the same appeal, because she knows there is only one truth. And this personality of the divine Shakti, the divine power, which organizes and presides over the growth of knowledge, she is called Maheshwari. That is an Sanskrit name, the great creatrix, Maheshwari. The second power, the second stream of this consciousness is one who wields an irresistible strength, force. It is to guard this knowledge, to guard the growth of this universe manifestation against the powers and forces of evil. She is ruthless in her opposition to evil. She puts down with irresistible strength. And those in whom she has to work, those who seek to function as her instruments, have to develop great reserves of strength to be able to bear her descent, her force, her impact. An ordinary mortal, full of imperfections and impurities, would break down at the first touch of her force, of her consciousness. And she is called Mahakali, the one who destroys in a great way. Nothing can resist her sword, her force. He describes in great poetic prose how she strikes the untimely slumberer into awakening. Even her killings, her punishments are a grace, because she kills in order to create, and she kills what refuses to be changed. That is the second, the Mahakali. All powers of cosmic powers of destruction are agents of this great cosmic power called Mahakali. The third one, the third power, the third deity, the third aspect of the divine puissance is one of great beauty, harmony, joy, bliss. She builds all harmonies. She creates all the cosmic rhythms. She is the goddess of wealth, of prosperity, of weal. Wherever there is happiness, wherever there is kindness, wherever there is harmony, she stays. Where there is littleness, where there is ascetic harshness, where there is ugliness, where there is meanness, this deity, this power will not stay. So if we want her presence, her grace, we must see that in our atmosphere, in our environment, there is no ugliness, there is no meanness, there is no dirt, there is no withholding. She is a goddess of largenesses. And to receive largely and to give largely, it is such an atmosphere that attracts her. She brings the force of wealth. She brings the force of health. She is the goddess of prosperity. Art, music, literature, all these, music, poetry, all these are gifts of her grace. She is called Mahalakshmi, the most beautiful one. And there is the fourth power, the fourth Shakti, and that is one who presides over detailed execution of work, one who works for perfection. She is the youngest of the four, and he says she is the most suffering along with man, because she is concerned with the detailed perfection in everything. She abhors what he calls in the right word in English is not there, so he uses a French word. She abhors all apopre. That is almost, we leave a thing undone, saying that it is almost that, without trying to complete it. So this slovenliness, carelessness, negligence, what I called yesterday the heedlessness, which is death, she abhors. She lives with man and she helps man to work towards perfection, towards service, raising the dignity of labor, developing consciousness through work, through application and pouring out of energies towards a certain completion, perfection of work. She is called the Mahasaraswati. Now these are the four main powers that are at work in the universe. Wherever there is creation, wherever there is manifestation, the Divine Mother has these four personalities. And Sri Aurobindo said, at this juncture in human history, all these four powers are embodied and are working through the person of this mother. That is why I call her the mother. And that was it. Thereafter, nobody questioned, and we all felt that experience, that she was never the same. She was one personality in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening, one when we met alone, one when we met in groups. And she would manifest all these powers, all these qualities. And we needed no more proof than direct experience. She has left, she has gone physically, but the truth of the four powers of the Divine Mother remains eternal. That the physical embodiment of the Mother whom we worshipped in the ashram is not there doesn't make any difference. Because right from the beginning of creation, these four divine powers, the power of knowledge, the power of strength, the power of harmony and beauty, the power of work and perfection, through these four channels, the divine consciousness and force has been flowing down. And corresponding to these four, even in the ascending movement from below, in humanity, these four streams are rising up. There are in humanity those who are born with a developed mind, seeking for knowledge, with an affinity to the movements of knowledge, everywhere. In some they are called scholars, some learned men, priests, the magi, the mystics, those who promote knowledge, seek knowledge, conserve knowledge, protect knowledge, communicate knowledge. Then there are those who are what are called martial in their nature, who have a special aptitude for war, battle, trials of strength, courage. They are called the martial classes. In Japan, the warrior class. In other countries, in India, they are called the Kshatriyas, who represent the sword arm of the state. There is the third element in society everywhere, who are concerned with the production of wealth, with the distribution of wealth, developing the human relations group-wise, building culture, spread of immunities. They are what are called the third, what are called the mercantile classes in the West. We call them Vaishyas and so on. And there is the fourth, who are in the West called the serfs, but in other countries they are called those who serve, whose profession is to work. And each of these four correspond to those four powers that are flowing down. Now, what is true of society is also true of each one of us. In each individual, there is an element that thinks, that wants to know, that seeks to understand. There is an element in each one of us that has power, that has strength, that has force, and it wants to express itself in life. We have also in each one a facility to create things, to build things, to have relations, harmonious relations with others, to earn money, to organize, to spend it, to distribute it. And there is also an element in us of work, of service. We can't live without activity, without work. So each individual has these four elements. And evolution of man is in the total development of all these four in an integral, synthesized manner. Perfection of society also calls for an arrangement, an organization by which no one class has predominance over others. There has to be a happy combination of the four sectors of society. Four elements in man, four sectors in society, and four powers of the Divine Mother. These represent a cosmic truth. The cosmos has a fourfold truth. And in our most ancient scripture called the Veda, there is a hymn which speaks of four bowls out of one. The hymn describes how the universal architect gives man one bowl, a large bowl. It is all confused things. So man, as he works out his destiny, cultures his consciousness, he summons the aid of the gods, the artisans of immortality, who are original human beings, who have risen to the status of the gods by their austerities, self-discipline. And with their aid, he sifts, separates, and prepares four bowls out of an original bowl, one bowl. And that is the fourfold perfection of man, fourfold perfection of the individual. That is the truth, and towards which humanity is moving, and an unfoldment of perfection in consciousness, human consciousness, is spelled out in these terms of four: perfection of knowledge, perfection of strength, perfection of harmony, beauty, and perfection of service. This is the central theme of the four powers of the Mother, which forms the sixth and the most important section of this small book called the Mother. It was afterwards printed and distributed to the public somewhere in 1928, and thereafter it has gone into innumerable editions. And appended to that are some other letters of Sri Aurobindo relating to the conditions under which spiritual discipline, spiritual sadhana, spiritual exercise can be done successfully, the value of money, the value of work, and the limitations of our reasoning, of our doubting reason. All these have been combined together and have been issued in the form of a book, The Mother, which I believe you will be all studying in depth in the meetings of the study group that is taking shape in this town. I think you could ask the question.
The Gita does not teach the type of integral, the fourfold path, does it?
No.
But it talks much about the
it throws hints, it throws hints of the fourfold nature of society, fourfold classification. It has been literally interpreted and used as a justification for the caste system in India. But that was not the central original idea, because in the Gita it is said that this classification is according to temperament and activity. It is not determined by birth. And the Gita does not represent, it represents the summit of consciousness 1,000 years ago. So every scripture has relevance to that, the age of the scripture. Though the Gita makes a distinction between the power at work, the lower power and the higher power, the lower nature and the higher nature. And the higher nature it is which, deploys itself in the form of these four powers. Parashakti and Aparashakti. Sri Aurobindo attaches great importance to this concept of the Divine Mother, which is familiar to all of us in the East, but in the West it has not received attention, except in the early ages in Catholic doctrine, which attached importance to Virgin Mary. But lately afterwards, it was somehow receded into the background. And as a whole, the Western mind is familiar with the concept of the fatherhood of God and not the motherhood. Perhaps if a woman had written the Bible, things would have been written differently. They were all written by men. And there is a story, one lion and its cub, they are passing in the street, highway. There was a time when animals could pass safely through our towns. Nobody would hurt them, and nobody would be afraid. So a lion and a cub, they were passing. And there, displayed in an open shop, was a painting where a man is riding a lion. So the cub tells the lion, "Look, Papa, there is a picture there and they are showing a man riding over lion." Then he said, "Wait, it has been painted by man. If I had painted it, I would have shown myself riding over man." So most of these scriptures have been written by men. And they have devalued the concept or the figure of woman. But in the East it is not like that. Even in our most ancient hymns, there are hymns purporting to have come from women seers. And the concept of the Divine Mother appeals to us more intimately. We feel a greater access, a greater love, a greater freedom. And in the synthesis of yoga, in the Yoga of Perfection, Sri Aurobindo says, speaking of the Divine Shakti, the Divine Mother, how the Mother Soul waits with the bounty in her hands, waits for the child soul to ask things from her, because she wants to give. It is not wrong to pray to the Divine Mother for what you want. But whom else are you going to pray from? She is ready to give the bounty. And she suffers with the children. She sympathizes. She is one with the universe. And the Divine Mother is accessible. She is the intermediary between the inaccessible Supreme and man, the human beings here. The whole of the Tantra tradition, which is different in a way from the Vedic or the Gita, lauds the mother concept. The whole universe, earth, is conceived as the mother. Heaven is the father, earth is the mother. So they always speak of the Mother Earth. I have seen that expression nowadays being used in some of the shops in nature foods, Mother Earth, and some advertisements and all that. I think the Western mind is slowly waking up to that fact. Whether we recognize it or not, it is a fact, it remains. Ultimately, whether you conceive the Divine as Father or Mother or Brother, it is the same. But there is a facet, there is a manifestational aspect as the Mother, which is more accessible, which is more dynamic, which is more concerned with what you do and what you are and what you want to do. So for us, the Mother who represented the Divine Mother for us, she was not a guru, but a mother. We felt so close, so intimate, that we could share anything. We never had fear, we never had awe. Always we have an awe of somebody superior to us. No. We always felt great in our company. We always felt elevated. And the sign of spiritual greatness is when you go in the presence of such a person, you also feel great. You don't feel small. You don't feel limited. He's so big and I'm so small. There's a sign of littleness making you feel small. That greatness enters into you and you also feel, yes, I am also great. That's the thing, that's how we felt. And in Savitri the other day we read the mother of mind, the mother of grief, the mother of mind, the mother of light, the mother of love. The Divine Mother puts out so many different values, different forces, different faculties. It is she who is at war. So in California, when I was there last year, so many women, who have been, involved in this women's lib movement and all that, they came trepidantly to ask me in confidence, in private, Mr. Pandit, does the Divine really have a feminine principle? I said, yes, which is common to us, known to us. Are you sure? Yes. And there were tears in their eyes, She said, we always felt like that the Divine could not be only male, but we dare not talk about it. It is against our church, against all these. And I said, no, the time has come. The Divine has to be recognized in everything. There is no distinction there. So I was telling today, I was writing also. Once a girl in a playground, mother used to teach. Mother never wrote things. She used to meet all the 1,000 or 2,000 people at the playground. And she would ask them, read out a text of Sri Aurobindo to the children. Say ranging from about 6 to about 18, 19. And after class she would ask questions. She would have a question hour. So any child could ask any question. So one girl got up and asked Mother, is it true that we girls are inferior to boys? Then Mother said, wait a minute. I also have thought of this question. Because she said, whether in the West or in the East, women are denied certain privileges in religion, in social functions. They said they are inferior. They are not meant for these things. So they are meant for the household things and all that. So they have been given an inferior status. So she said, I couldn't reconcile myself to that because that was contrary to my experience. So I wanted to be very sure of it. So she said that she went into concentration and trance, went up, and went to the very source of creation to see what it is there like. And there she found there was neither male nor female. You understand? And she said, then all this is myth. Then she saw other planes, other worlds. No. There male means different, female means different. There is no sex distinction. There is no superior and inferior. Male is a presiding consciousness. Female means an executive, an organizing and power. One static and one dynamic. The dynamic is the woman, the static is the man, the Lord and the spouse. So male and female are distinctions in consciousness. And there is no such thing as a male body and a female body. It is only on the physical plane that nature has made a distinction, differentiation of sex in the bodies for purposes of her perpetuation of species. On the higher planes, there is no differentiation of bodies. Man and woman mean quite different things there. So she said, this is all man-made. There is no real distinction. And woman is not inferior. Woman is equal to man. So she said, contrary to all medical advice and everybody's advice, she refused to have different physical culture programs for boys and girls. She said, no. They must have the same dress, same exercises. Even on those 3 days, they must go through it. She said, this is a wrong consciousness. a wrong sense of difference that is being promoted. It should go. Both have the same divine soul. Both are derived from the same divine reality. And a functional difference does not make a qualitative difference. So, at a higher level, there is no distinction. There is no question of the myth of the inferiority of a woman.
I don't know if bisexuality has been around as much as there seems to be, as prevalent as it is right now, or as we hear about it. I wonder if that's part of the evolutionary process.
Yes, because now the role of sex is slowly changing. And in the next cycle of evolution, procreation will not be by sexual process. You understand? Will drop off just as the intestine. What is that called? Appendix. Appendix. That is the vision of the occultists. It may take, I don't know how long, but it will take. And a new process of procreation will start with the organized functioning of a new consciousness beyond the mind. So this is the last stage, and sex has been thrown up by nature everywhere. Generally, when things are to be rejected or thrown aside, they are brought into the full, open. Recently, a number of books have appeared in America on the feminine concept of God. Beatrice Brutto, you must have seen the book. She has written some things. She is, I think, connected with the Chardin organization now. Number of people are writing theses. Women's liberation movement. It has to have this culmination, isn't it? Recognizing the divine as the mother.
It just seems to be all fitting in so well.
Yes, it is fitting.
Does the functional difference in consciousness still remain?
As long as the present system of procreation continues, that distinction remains, but it doesn't bring about a distinction in consciousness. A woman will not feel a subordinate partner.
Even though she may have different functions.
Yes. If she has certain qualities which are necessary, certain faculties which are necessary for bringing up the children, bearing the children and all that. Well, that is her speciality.
Siobhan, you said that you still don't know how it is the children will be.
There is a hint so far, and that is what is called materialization. You must have heard of miracles where some people who have a certain occult knowledge give you a thing or produce a thing as if from nowhere.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
You must have heard of an Indian guru called Satya Sai Baba, who gives you watches, who gives you fountain pens, who creates ash, who creates honey, And if you put his picture there, from that picture ash will fall or honey will drip, and if you take it you will be cured. These are all things happening, you know. Oh yes, number of American scientists and psychologists have gone there to study and expose him, and they have remained there to pray and become his disciples and write books here.
Is he alive today?
Yes. He's I think around about 40. He's very, and now every year number of American people are going, and I have met people here who have gone and come. They can't deny things are happening. You understand? He does create, and he is so popular, and so many are going that on his birthday, so many people assemble that he has to see them from a helicopter. Yes, it was shown on TV. You know, he goes into the helicopter and blesses everybody, puts flowers, and people with paralysis, people with all incurable kinds of diseases, they go to him. Many of them are cured. And what he does, whenever he just does like this, he gets ash and he gives it to you as his blessing. You take a little and it does you great good. He will, if you are going to marry, well, he will do like this and he will give you 2 rings. Understand? He will put on your finger. And among our Indian Hindu marriages, they put some black beads, in gold thread. He will materialize that and give you. Now all this I am telling, that there is a phenomenon called materialization. That is, you suddenly bring out something. You feel it is something out of nothing, because he has not utilized any matter here. From the physical point of view, you have to utilize matter, existing matter, to create something out of matter, material. But he does not. So scientists have gone and they are wondering from where he creates. They thought first it was magic, that is sleight of hand. But then they examined those, he does it openly. Now such things are not uncommon in India. He has received publicity. That is all. There are other people also who do it. And how do they do it? Above this physical material plane, there are other levels of matter. There are other worlds. This universe consists of 7 planes of existence, each subtler than the one. The highest is the most subtle. The earth is the grossest, most material, most thick, rigid. Now, above this physical universe, there is a subtle physical universe where matter is very subtle. It can change its form. It is not rigid. It is not hard. So one who has the occult knowledge, he assembles that subtle matter in the form in which he wants here. And by a stroke of will, or by repeating mentally a particular formula which is there in the occult science, he precipitates that form on earth and it makes itself visible to you in a physical form. So that is expected to be a kind of process of creation in the future, where by sheer will, operating upon subtle form of matter, you can create things here.
Do you think that it will be, for instance, the parents or the mother will want a child, or do you think that it will be a soul that will wish to be born?
Exactly. It will not depend upon a man and a woman here.
Yes.
It will depend upon the soul.
The soul that will wish to.
Yes. It will create a body for itself and it will suddenly appear. But we exactly do not know. We can only visualize all these things. Nobody can be sure. Because before a new process starts in nature, there are 100 experiments, 100 different things are attempted. So we do not know. But this is not going to, the present way is not going to last. Many people don't like it, that prospect.
Don't like the prospect of
Of sex losing
Oh.
its...
He says it won't happen for at least another 1,000 years.
Yes.
So we'll say, by the time it happens, we'll all be ready for it, right?
Right.
Do you think, Sharipan, that that's why there's so much more homosexuality that you see there? And bisexuality?
I don't know really. I think it is something perverse, I think. It is not in nature's intention, I don't believe in sin and all that kind of thing. But this homosexuality, I think it is something perverse. Because it is not in the intention, perverse. It is not in the intention of nature. Do you see animals? Very rarely. They are never homosexual. Very rarely it is. Perhaps the perversion creeps to them through human beings. Never. But I can't really explain this kind of movement, I can't give any spiritual explanation for it. I can't.
I find most of those people very uneasy, and
I see.
And very not at peace.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if that's just a closed-minded view that I have on it.
I think it is the soul inside that feels uneasy, It is the protest of the soul that protest of the soul against the abuse of the body that makes itself felt as unease, as they are trying to, always to justify themselves and always to make big noise, that kind of thing. It is an inner protest that makes them do that,
And then I can look at it also from another point of view.
Yeah.
Of society doing that, that's not the way that it's supposed to be.
That's true. A tradition, a taboo, a social taboo is there. That also can create an uneasiness in a person who goes against it. That also is possible.
A little bit about tapas and its relation to the mother and to Shakti.
Yes. Tapas is, a concentration of energies for a definite purpose. Assemble our energies, focus them, and concentrate them. Apply them in a concentrated manner for anything you want to study. Art, music, culture of consciousness, culture of plant, whatever the objective. When you do it with a concentrated attention, that is called tapas. Tapas is not just spiritual austerity. Tapas in the literal sense means heat. And that heat is generated. It is a heat of creation, creative incubation. When energies are assembled for a purpose, that is tapas. And it generates Shakti, no doubt. It generates power. The more you concentrate and work, the more effective you are, and the more power you have to effectuate your will. That is the rationale. So one who does not do tapas cannot have Shakti. Creative Shakti. Destructive Shakti anybody can have without austerity.
That is part of the eternal.
Yes, it is a part of a process. Creative process always presupposes tapas. The words differ, but it is there. Ascesis they call. I don't know what's the Greek word.
That is the greatest.
Ascesis.
Asceticism in English, which is different.
So, when the presence of the Shakti is felt. It is felt as energy.
Yes. It is felt normally as energy. It can also be felt as bliss, joy, and also as great peace. Peace. That's not an active energy, but it is a passive energy. Energy held in stasis.
How this tapas is related to Shaktipat? They call it Shaktipat or something.
But before that, speaking of Shakti, I wanted to tell you a joke. That, once, sometime I used to attend to visitors to coming to our ashram and sending them to guest houses. They had to pass through me. So one day 2 hippies came, Western. One was a bedraggled, dirty, half-dressed man, with all kinds of outlandish dress, and he was accompanied by an equally ill-dressed woman. So he gave me his name, and then I asked him. I thought she was his friend or his wife. I just wanted to know for allotting rooms, So I asked, and then who is she? He drew himself up and said, she is my Shakti. No, I said, oh, what do you mean by your Shakti? You see, the thing is, these people have no idea. You see, every woman is not a Shakti. You see, actually, in each person, there is a Shakti. And there is Shiva. You understand? In each person, the active element and the passive element, the presiding element and the executive element. So in each woman, there is something of a man, male. In each man, there is something of the female. And the progress lies in coordinating, harmonizing and totalizing this inner process. That is the Shiva and Shakti principle. It does not need to have another woman to have fulfillment in spiritual life as Shakti. This is a great misconception in the West. And Shakti need not mean a female person, need not. A man can be a Shakti. Vivekananda was a Shakti for Ramakrishna. You see. Shakti is power, and power has no sex. Isn't it? Many of these concepts have to be presented to the Western mind in a very rational manner, and they will understand it. Unnecessary mystique is made, unnecessary, mysticism is built up, and they think it is something great, something. I think a time has come when spirituality has to be interpreted in terms of science, and science has to be presented in terms of spiritual thought. The time is coming down. They speak of vibrations, they speak of dance of vibrations and all that. Ultimately it is Shakti Vilas, you see. That matter, first they said energy, then they said proton, and what is that? Photon or proton and something. And then ultimately they said it is a dance of vibrations. They're coming very close to the Indian conception. Shaktipat, you said. Shaktipat is transmission. A transmission of the dynamism that is in me, which goes to you and works out some change in you. You understand? You feel a certain vibration from me, suddenly, and it acts. That is called Shaktipat. The spiritual energy or force or consciousness that is housed in me throws itself out in forms of vibrations and strikes. Those who are ready, it starts some new movement. Those who are not ready, it makes them ready. So this Muktananda, Swami Muktananda who is here, he is known for that. Lot of play of Shakti is going on around him. Because he was blessed by his Guru, who was a mighty yogi, a great man, God realized man. He blessed him and said, you must propagate this teaching, this spirituality. And since then, with that man, wherever he is there are always sparks going from him. But, it can only initiate a movement. A Shakti path can initiate a movement. It can't give you the fruit of things. It can awaken something. It can set you on the path. But you have to work upon it thereafter. You have to follow it up. You suddenly feel a flame of aspiration. You feel suddenly nice, happy, cheerful, light. Next day you are the same old person. You see.
Have you been sending out that drum when you meditate? Because I feel...
I know it is going on there. But I don't like to use that grandiloquent name. I know it is Mother's consciousness that radiates when there are people of open, we have a certain opening to that, who believe. It does. I am conscious. It is something like that. Shaktipat is something like that. But I don't claim it myself. It is Mother's.
Do you want to tell something, your idea of sin?
Sin. Well, you see, sin is an invention of moralists. Those who want to keep or make human beings behave in a particular way, according to certain standards which they erect. Whoever does against that incurs a sin, they say. And this conception has been given great prominence and made a basic doctrine by Christianity. They speak of an original sin. That is, even a child, small child, fresh, innocent, pure child is born, there is sin attached to it. You see? Yes. Original sin. Now, further sins that you do are different. But you start with a bank balance. You see? This
Can't get to heaven unless you throw water on it.
You see, yes. And this sin is used as a threat, to keep you in a certain pattern of behavior. And then more romantic imagination started, and they will devise the ways and means what kind of punishment will be inflicted for what kind of sin. All that. If you read our Puranas, our Indian Puranas and certain Christian or Muslim, Islamic things and all that, they were told how many minutes you'll be roasted alive, how many you'll be cut into pieces, all that kind of thing. Now these are crude attempts by those old religious or morality people to refine man, to civilize man, to make him do what they think he should do. But there is no such thing, truly speaking, as sin. There is only ignorance. Sri Aurobindo says the only sin is ignorance. Because we are ignorant, we do things which bring us suffering. If we knew that this is going to affect us or affect others, adversely, we wouldn't do that. The fact that we do shows that we are not ignorant. Ignorance is the thing. So the more knowledge grows, the more your consciousness grows, the more you are free from pain and ignorance and suffering. And sin drops. Sin is really, he says, a deviation from truth. Understand? There is no moral turpitude in that moment. There is no such thing as sin. It is a concoction, a devil's concoction. Fear and sin. Where there is God, where there is grace, where there is love of God, there can't be punishment, there can't be sin. And there shall not be fear. Fear always creates a gulf. Fear always keeps you away from God. You should love God, you should embrace God. Instead of that, you are afraid. God will punish. God will see this, I am doing this sin. All that. These are all, man-made inventions. There is no sin. Man is pure. The Hindu conception is man is essentially divine. A child is worshipped as an image of divine. You see, it's contrary. Man is born pure, born divine. That is essentially, when he comes, the soul is divine. Afterwards, all these veils of nature develop and nature forms. So essentially, man is divine and potentially man is divine. But that is a blasphemy, I believe, in Christian faith, to say man can become one with God.
It is.
Isn't it? Yes.
Then by the same token, can we also say that there is no such thing as good and bad?
Yes, yes. From a higher point of view, there is no absolute good and absolute bad. Aurobindo describes bad is a misplaced good. What you call bad, if you change its place, if you put it in the right place, it becomes good. A good also, in a wrong place, becomes bad.
So your own definition.
Yes. So when you come to a certain higher stage, ultimately, good and bad, they are very relative. Very relative. In certain societies, what is considered to be good is considered bad in other societies. And so these are very relative things. The only standard we have is whatever leads you towards the divine is good. Whatever retards your movement towards God is bad. That's all. Good and bad means desirable and not desirable. To be done or not done. That's the only standard. Right and wrong has to be measured from that. I won't say good and bad. Right and wrong.
There any spiritual significance or words to religious rituals, such as like fire sacrifices and even modern ones today?
Originally, these rituals were meant to be external symbols of inner movements. When you light a candle before the altar, simultaneously you light that flame of aspiration in your heart. It is a symbol. You understand? When you place a flower, it is you are placing the best emotion, the best cream of your experience before God in that form of a flower. So rituals are meaningful, helpful, as long as their significance is kept in mind. And they are not just mechanical movements which you go through. So you have to participate from inside. And an external ritual, an external ceremony adds a certain completeness to the inner movement, reminds one of that, recalls one that experience. But when it becomes mechanical, when you ask somebody else to do it, it has no meaning. Originally, they all had instinct with the life. People were doing with full understanding, and they were helpful aids to spiritual life. Today, all rituals have lost meaning. We just go through mechanically.
Will that provide any growth?
They don't might affect either way now. You go to a church, people they do all these things. How many understand? Isn't it? And how many really follow what is going on? Their attention is somewhere. They are looking at their watches. And they are going, time will be up. We really need, to remove a lot of cant and sham from our society, from our religion, from many things of life. We have overloaded ourselves with many artificial structures of thought, feeling, ceremony, rituals, beliefs and customs. We have converted all religious ceremonies into social institutions now. Commercialized now. Christmas, you see how much. There is a great accent on social aspect of it. The solemnity of it. That is forgotten. They become social festivals.
Maximum business 1 month before.
Yes. It starts on Thanksgiving Day, 22nd. I studied that. I was watching the TV and everything. I was here in this country. My God, that turkeys were playing and all that. I felt so sad because the next day they said they'll be eaten. Games were going on. Number of people would bring from in a basket turkeys and they would push them and there'll be races. And they were shown on the TV. And then the announcer is saying, and all these will be tomorrow on your table. And I felt very bad, you see. And I was told in every home, turkey is the dinner next day. Family reunion. No, let them eat, it's all right, there's their way. But why this? The same turkeys, poor creatures, they don't know that they're being eaten tomorrow. Man's cruelty to beings is something unsurpassed.
That was sure fun. There was in the paper this Thanksgiving, there was a family that had raised 2 turkeys to kill them on Thanksgiving Day. And they couldn't do it. Did you see that? And what they did is they served something else and they had the 2 turkeys sitting at the table having dinner with them and they didn't eat them or kill them. I thought it was wonderful.
I see.
They had the turkey sitting at the table but
I see.
alive.
I see.
I thought that was great. Yeah.
Yes.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Also, we would like to share our ideas on conscience. Conscience.
Conscience is a deposit of conventional morality. By constant repeating that a particular thing is right, a particular thing is wrong. There is in the environment itself that power of suggestion forms. And as you grow, you imbibe that sense of what is wrong and what is right. Not necessarily truly right and truly not right, but according to what the society thinks. You understand? You imbibe that. And that thing vibrates, responds. If you listen to it, it will vibrate more. If you ignore it, it will die down. And that is called conscience. Conscience is not consciousness.
See a difference.
Yes. Conscience is a social deposit of the conventional morality, standard of morality of the society.
Morality is of the mind.
Yes. It is a step towards religion. Originally it is meant for that, to make you less selfish, to make you less cruel, and all that, But afterwards other things are added on. Originally ethics, morality, these are all helpful moments to civilize man. But real ethics must teach you to tell the truth, to be kind, to be good for its own sake. Further, when the religions add, you will be rewarded this thing. And you will be punished if you do this. Now you are bringing down the value of ethics. Ethics you do good for goodness sake. But ethics is never allowed to remain pure. It is always quoted by religious, bribes and that sort of thing. It should be below, we should feel it below our dignity, human dignity, to tell a lie, to tell falsehoods, to betray, to stab people in the back. Metaphorically. Not because he is seeing, God is seeing, or I will have to pay for it in the next birth and all that. No. If my ethics can develop that sense in me, that is the right spiritual ethics.
What part does physical matter play in the distortion you're talking about?
Physical
matter play in the distortions like this?
Physical matter does not, physical mind. Till the arrival of human being, there is no question of ethics or morality. An animal doesn't feel guilty for eating you up. You don't blame a tiger because it eats something else. You see, it is its way. But with the arrival of man, the mind comes and it erects the sense of right and wrong, good and bad and all that. So it is a contribution of the human mind. But human mind itself is in a certain infancy. We think we are very big adults and all that. No, we are still infants. Somebody said that if you conceive of the whole cycle of evolution as 24 hours, we are still now 6 o'clock in the morning. It's starting at 12 o'clock at night, you are 6 o'clock in the morning still, with all the billions of years that have gone. There is so much still to come. So we should say, don't be depressed, don't be disheartened. It may be a way of putting things. I don't know how can you say all that. Which is arbitrary. How do we know? What is the time span? But it is nice to hear that. Yeah.
I just want to ask you a question. Do you not eat meat?
Do you not eat meat? Well, normally I don't. I don't normally. But I don't have any inhibitions. See. Once I remember when I first addressed a Rotary meeting in Boston, the president of the Rotary Club, organizer of the function and all that, there was lunch served and there was a buffet type. So I didn't know anything what to do and all that. He said, you follow me. So he took a plate and a thing and fork and knife and all that. He went on picking from each dish. I did the same thing, So there were 7 or 8 things by the time we came to the end. And he started eating and I started eating. And then I had taken very little of each, but everything I ate. But I said, this is all American food. It is bland. I'd never relish it. But anyway, everybody eats, I ate. Then afterwards, some people who were in my party, they came, one girl came and said, she said, Madhav, you have eaten this. This is pork and this is beef and all this. And there was something which I thought it was a black bread. They said it was what is called meatloaf? Meatloaf or something. Then I said, I don't know, but I didn't like it, anything particularly. But I'm not sorry that I ate anything. If so many can eat, why not I? But I don't have any patience. And spiritually, these things don't really matter.
Well, I had wondered about the cruelty of killing the turkeys.
No,
You brought that up.
it is. You see, we are not used to it.
Yes.
You see, even in India, the Muslims, the Christians, they eat. We Hindus don't eat normally. So for us, it is takes time to adjust ourselves. But I don't blame people for that. I don't blame. So these meat eaters will say, what are you doing when you eat your cabbages and vegetables? They also have a life. Why do you blame us? True, there is life there. See, only we will retort saying that it is a lower form of life.
Yeah.
And we interfere less with nature by taking that. You interfere much less when you eat egg. But the same thing as chicken. You interfere more. So these are all, but whole life is based on what is called the logic of the fish. Logic of the fish means smaller fish being eaten by the bigger fish. That bigger fish will be eaten by still bigger fish. Whole life goes on that because life feeds upon life. You see, in Sanskrit, in our Upanishads, there is a sentence: the eater eating is eaten. You see, even the body, when it eats and nourishes itself, is eaten by the life force. In the process of eating, something wears out in me. The eater eating is eaten. So that from that point of view, you understand. Everything is relative in this world. Nothing is absolute. So Einstein did great service in shaking these scientists. It says relativity of things. Relativity is. Seems somebody once came and asked him, some old friend, old woman or somebody, say, I don't understand what you are saying, this relativity. So many people say, I really never been able to understand. But it must be making some sense. At least you must be knowing what it is. She told, can you explain to me? If you really know, you should be able to put it into my head. She told Einstein. He said, yes. Then he said, look here. If I am with somebody who is talking to me in a subject which I don't am interested, half an hour looks like 2 hours, 3 hours for me. I get bored. He said, yes. Now if I am sitting with my girlfriend, even 3 hours look like half an hour for me. You understand? This is relativity. I thought it makes sense. I think we could 15 minutes, we could